your girl. Anyways, hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. It is Liv Loves Literature, and I'm so happy to be back. Y'all don't understand, okay? Things have been busy, but I am back. If you watched my most recent video, then you know I've been in a reading slump, and I thought when it comes to reading and content, the best way for me to like produce things that I actually am confident in and actually care about and are actually authentic is for me to film or talk about whatever it is that I want to talk about at the time. Like, I can't give you a March TBR because I've been in a reading slump. Like, I don't have a list of books that I want to read. I can't give you a reading vlog. I haven't been reading, but I could give you a January and February wrap up, and I can give you a how to get out of a reading slump / books and types of books and authors to read if you're in a reading slump. So we got a lot of things to cover here. So here's a stack of books. We're gonna talk about them. I had to fix my posture because I'm looking a little slouched. But yeah, so first things first, we're gonna start off with how to get out of a reading slump. So these books are no longer than 300 pages, because for me, when I'm in a reading slump, I have lost my reading confidence. I've lost my reading mojo. So there's no way that I'm about to dive into a 400-page book when I've just been in a reading slump. Even though I typically read on average, I guess, late 300s to early 400s. Now I say late. Anyway, 400 pages is my average read, I feel. It's the average length of your typical romance and even adult fantasy at this point. But anyways, I don't want to read a book that's super long. So that's step one. Step one, identify books in your collection or at the bookstore if you're buying that are not too long. Step two, look at the words. If there's too many words on the page, then that's going to discourage me personally. So some of this is tailored towards me. If you relate to this, great. But I'm kind of speaking generally, but kind of not. If there's too many words on the page, that could deter you as well. If the font is too small. So looking at the actual composition and text of the book. This, I feel these words are pretty big. The margins are not too small and not too big, and this is a good size we got going. Yeah. Step three, content and genre. Okay, for me, when I'm in a reading slump, diving into a fantasy is not something. When I'm in a reading slump, diving into some of these books are dusty. So but anyways, I tried to pull out books that I haven't talked about yet on this channel, and I'm really excited about it, some OGs. But anyways, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna dive into a fantasy. I'm not gonna dive into a science fiction book, okay? Some genres. Thriller is a really good one because it's simpler than a fantasy, but more complex than a romance, and it keeps you and it might even have some romance in it. I've read a number of serial killer mystery thrillers where there's romance as part of the plot as well. There's a really, really good one, but I think it's longer than the page count. But I don't know. Maybe I'll include it on here. Maybe I won't. But yeah, I guess we'll start with our thriller. We have The Teacher, or really anything by Frida McFadden. Yeah, thriller is a great genre, and here is an example of a thriller. This book, I've talked about it, this will be my third or fourth time talking about it on this channel. So go back to my vlog where I read the book, go back to the video that I just made where I talk about it in my January and February wrap up if you want to know more. But yeah, so a thriller, a Frida McFadden book. Okay, next we have this is going to be our middle grade book. This is also a Netflix series now. It's called Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper. And this girl, her name is Melody, and she has cerebral palsy. And this is around the early 2000s when they were just starting to integrate the special education and general education populations together. So she was going to be entering the general ed classroom for the first time. And this is basically like how that goes and her journey. And she's an incredibly smart girl, but people don't assume that just because she uses a wheelchair and she cannot verbally speak. So yeah, it's good. It is good. Like, great reviews. If you've seen the show on Disney Plus, then you definitely will like the book. So yeah, I actually read this when I was in like late 2023, when I wasn't really in back into my reading bag. I read this and it was really, really good. Yeah, and I also read the sequel and it was good. There's a third one that has come out. It came out like in April, and I have it, and I still have not read it, and it's almost been a year. So I'll get to it at some point, maybe. We'll see. Okay, next we have a cozy mystery. So this is a charmed life novel. The first one in the series is So Not Happening, and it's by Jenny B. Jones. If you know about or remember this series, you are a day one OG reader, because I have never seen this talked about on YouTube or on Bookstagram. I have not seen it talked about ever. My sister actually bought these and she read them, and then I inherited them. And yeah, these are cozy mysteries. I have not... She is moving from... She's moving from somewhere. Oh, from New York. She's moving from New York to Oklahoma, to Truman, Oklahoma. And, oh, and this is it looks like a spiritual. Yeah, it's Christian fiction. Yeah, it's Christian fiction. The author, at least was at the time, a high school teacher in Arkansas. I low-key need to reread this. This is probably the oldest book in this stack. Maybe. I have not read this book in like 10 plus years. But I know it's good. And it's a cozy mystery, a Christian fiction type stuff. So yeah, she moves to a small town. I'm really into small town country stuff right now. Okay, next is a YA romance. Okay, and this YA romance that I chose is 24 Seconds From Now by Jason Reynolds. This is a very easy to read, digestible... Let me verify. Yeah, these books are in the 300 page range. Really like 200 to 300 is what I'm really looking for. Like the book I just finished just now, The Love Lottery, which I talked about in the last video, was 188 pages. Because like I've really been down in the slumps. But anyways, 24 Seconds From Now by Jason Reynolds. This is probably this is the newest book in the stack. I just talked about this in my last video. Go check it out. But yeah, it's a YA romance. It's super cute. It's funky fresh. The way that Jason Reynolds writes, honestly, you could read anything by Jason Reynolds and it pretty much would fit into this how to get over a reading slump category. As you can see, the words are really big and spaced out, and there's a lot of like white space on the pages. And it's just a really cute little tale. The book is also very gorgeous. Look at this stunning blue. Very, very stunning. But yeah, very, very good. Like I said, watch my last video to hear me talk a little bit more about this and the writing. Okay, next, an urban fiction novel. Okay, urban fiction is so good. See, now I'm about to turn up. I low-key should have waited. I low-key should have saved this to the end, but it's fine. It's fine. Urban fiction is so good. I'm going to make an urban fiction video. However, I haven't yet because I want to read more urban fiction authors before I dive into it, because otherwise it'll just be another whole video about Ashley Antoinette, and I've already done a video about Ashley Antoinette. You need to watch that. But yeah, urban fiction is amazing. It's fantastic. The storytelling is like no other. Like, it's like no other. It's about street life, okay? That's all I'm going to tell you, okay? It's about the street life. You need to find out what that means. People who are getting it out the mud, period, you know? You need to read this. I just put this here just because I really like the cover. This is probably the best cover out of all of her books that I own physically. you know, you can kind of get the vibe of like what might be going on. So good. So good. Like, I cannot express to you how good this is. The story is riveting. It'll make you mad. It'll make you sad. It'll sometimes make you happy, but really that mad and sad and frustrated and like, oh, well, what? Like, this is crazy. Like I said, watch my Ashley Antoinette video if you want to get into, if you want an introduction to Ashley Antoinette, who writes urban fiction, because urban fiction is so good. And they're usually not too long. Like this book, like all of Ashley Antoinette's books have been 300 pages or shorter. So yeah. Yeah. It's been, I could talk about this all day. I could talk about this all day, but I won't. I think I'm going to put it down now. But I don't want to, because it's so good. Like, y'all need to get on some urban fiction. Street life, y'all gotta get into it. Ooh, my back. Y'all gotta get into it because it's so good. It's so good. This will get you out of any slump. Okay. Next, we have another YA romance, okay? Better Than the Movies. I've talked about this book before. Everybody knows about this book. But this is more in the style of a rom-com. The other one by Jason Reynolds was not really in the style of a rom-com. It was really was like storytelling, prose type. I don't know how to describe it, but these two are very different. Very different stories, very different storytelling techniques. Because that one is told kind of more of a flashback, and this one's more of the other present. But yeah, this one, I chose this one because it reminds me of a movie. It reminds me of The Duff mixed with like a bunch of other like teen movies. And if you love all those teen movies, then you will love this one. It's literally called Better Than Movies. It is inspired by rom-coms. Our main girl character loves rom-coms. So yeah, that's really that. I love it. It's amazing. You probably know what it's about. It has like every single dating trope ever in this one book. So yeah, it's good. This will get you out of your slump. Now this one is like 350-ish pages, but I read this in a day. It was so quick paced. You're not gonna want to put it down. Okay. Next, we have like a diary journal type writing. Okay, so this is like the stand-in for like Diary of a Wimpy Kid or Dork Diaries, but those could also go with our next category. But yeah, anything diary-like that's like short, or maybe even like a really short memoir told by someone who had like a juicy life or something. Anything of that. Of course, for my example here, I had The Princess Diaries because it's one of the most popular series ever, because of the movies too. Meg Cabot is a very, very, very well-known author though. She did her thing, period. This is actually the 5th book in the series. I don't know where the first 4 books are right now. I think they're on my shelf that's downstairs. And I grabbed this one from the shelf that's downstairs. That's out there. But anyways, yeah, Princess Mia, she finds out she's a princess, obviously. And life goes from there. Now, I will say the diary books are very different from what happens in the movies. There are only 2 movies, and there are like 10 books. So you can imagine how things are kind of different. But, yeah. Yeah, you know. Yeah, but these are really, really quick. These are really, really, really fast-paced, and if you want to just read something just kind of quick and just nonsensical, it's very nonsensical, it's very teenage, very angst, then, and it's funny. It's really, really funny. It's like early 2000s humor, which I love. Like, I eat that up. Definitely cancelable if it was written during this time. If this was written in 2025, very, very different. But since it wasn't, we're okay. Anyways, next is a graphic novel. I actually did read this when I was in a slump back in September. Yeah, I did read this when I was in a slump, and it's a graphic novel, and it was so cute. This boy, this is by Dan Santat. It's called A First Time for Everything. So this boy, he's being bullied in middle school. He's going on a class trip to Europe. And he kind of like has a thing going with this girl, and yeah, I think it's actually about the author Dan. I'm pretty sure it's about the author Dan. And yeah, it is actually. He lives in SoCal. And yeah, like the girl he ends up liking is like actually real. Yeah, it has like real pictures in the back. It was just a feel-good story. Wow. Yeah. Very, very cute. I mean, for obvious reasons, a graphic novel is going to get you out of that slump because, like, obvious reasons, a graphic novel is going to get you out of a slump because there are as many words and there are pictures. So this is for when you're really down bad and maybe you just want to just read something just to keep your brain entertained. Like, I took this on the plane with me when I went on a trip back in September, which I can't believe it's already been months since that happened. But anyways, yeah, like I took this on the plane with me to read because I was kind of anxious and I can't really focus on an actual story with a whole bunch of words, so this was perfect. I'm telling you, these books gotta be dusty because, girl. Okay, then we have Everything by Nicola Yoon. This is very, very popular, but I've actually never talked about this on the channel. I mean, this is more like during my sister's reading era, because I was a little bit young for like this era of with this book and The Fault in Our Stars and stuff. I wasn't reading romance. I wasn't reading YA romance at the time. That's why YA romance was my least favorite genre for so long, because I think I was young when it was at its height. But I think now adult romance is at its height and I'm an adult, so it's all working out. But yeah, so I ended up reading this later on. I actually saw the movie with my sister before I ever read the book. So, yeah. But, like, it was cool. It was cool. But the reason why it's on here is because it's light and airy. Like, Nicola Yoon, I've read 2 books by Nicola Yoon at this point. The Sun is Also a Star, of course. I picked this one up just because it was closest to me. But, yeah, her books are light and airy, and they also have movies that go along with them. And they're also, in these kind of books, lots of, like, text messages and emails and stuff. So if you ever, like, want a break from just, like, the typical, you know... oh, see, look, and it has just, like, a bunch of, like, pages and stuff. Because our characters are always doing stuff, going on trips and stuff, and... you know, there's just different, like, paperwork and artwork in the books sometimes, as you can see. So, yeah, it's just, like, yeah, like, there was an era of time where, like, putting text messages in books was really, really popular. I haven't seen that done in a while. They don't really do that in adult romance. They do that a lot in YA. And there's something about YA that's just very light and airy, and it feels like a summertime movie in 2017 or something. I don't know. But, yeah. Yeah, there's no, like, bad language. There's no, like, none of these books have, like, trigger warnings or anything. So that's why I say, like, this is my list of how to get out of a reading slump. Because it's going to be something light enough or interesting enough to pull you in, but not too heavy where it leaves you with, like, a bellyache. And you're like, okay, that was, like, the heaviest thing I just read. I need a moment to digest. And then, boom, you're back in the reading slump. So it's like, this is, like, these books are, like, you go and get breakfast, okay? Say we're at brunch. And instead of getting the chicken and waffles, which is like a fantasy book or a really heavy romance that has a bunch of trigger warnings, instead of getting the chicken and waffles, you get a breakfast wrap. A wrap that has avocado and lettuce and kale and eggs and stuff like that. And maybe it even comes with a side salad. Like, it's interesting enough to really, you know, you got a lot to gnaw on. And there's, like, a lot of different components, and it's, like, good, but, like, it's still lighter and airier than the chicken and waffles. Because that chicken and waffles will sit on your belly for hours at a time. Okay? Y'all know what I'm saying. Okay. Next, we have The Lightning Thief by Percy Jackson. So this is middle grade fantasy, but also a book that you really love and hold dear and reread all over again, or also a really popular book, whatever is, like, whatever is one of your comfort books, one of your whatever. But yeah, Percy Jackson Lightning Thief. I don't even need to say what this is about. This is one of my favorite books of all time, if not my favorite book of all time. It's so good. The series is amazing. It's fantastic. Seriously, if you haven't read it, it doesn't matter how old you are, you should read it. Like, reading this series for the first time was one of the most pleasurable experiences I ever had. But not only that, honestly, I actually enjoyed rereading it. So I read it for the first time in 7th grade, and I read it for the second time in 9th grade. And I don't know what it was, but rereading it in the summer of 9th grade is what I remember more than when I read it for the first time. Like, I don't know what it was, but reading it for the second time, I like really felt the Percabeth of it all. I really felt the story of it all. I really felt the summer of it all. Like, I don't know, I can't explain to you, but I had the most fun in the world rereading these books. And so when I think about that time, I just have like a sense of like nostalgia in the best way. Like, I feel whole, I feel complete, I feel amazing. So, but also in general, middle grade fantasy is way lighter than YA fantasy or adult fantasy. Like, I mean, you might have a death in the last book and it's a character you really even cared about. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very light, very airy. And yeah, so middle grade fantasy is very safe to read, but it has an interesting enough plot to like get you interested. It probably has an aspect of mystery and maybe even like a little budding romance, something like cute enough to keep you going. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Percy Jackson Lightning Thief obviously had to make this list because like this is a book I return to a lot when I feel like I have nothing to read. So okay. And last but not least, we have Between the Lines by Jodi Picoult. I love this book. I saw that it was turned into a Broadway show, and I want to watch it so bad, but I think I have to pay. I'm gonna figure that out because I love this book. I don't even remember. I've lost count of how many times I read this book, to be honest with you, because I love it so much. It is definitely probably my #1 comfort book just because the fantasy is very... It's not even like fantasy, it's more like magical realism. The magical realism of it all is not too complex, it's not difficult, and it's a book about books. Like, any book that's about books is definitely a book that I love. How many times did I just say book? But yeah, a book about books is amazing and fantastic. This girl, she's in love with this children's book, and the characters are alive, they can hear her, and she starts talking to the prince, and the prince starts talking back to her. It has like... Hold on. It has the font is in different colors. Like the font is green. The font is green right here. It has some little illustrations. I'm trying to find like a bigger illustration. Okay, it has some big illustrations here. It's very... Y'all already know, if you don't know by now, I love any story that has kings and queens and princes. There's also like a beach, and it's like... It reminds you a little bit of Neverland, a little bit of like The Little Mermaid. I think it's supposed to remind us a little bit of all the fairy tales mixed up in one. I love fairy tales. I love books. I love feeling lost in a book. I love the idea of talking with a book, talking back to a book, the characters in the book being able to hear you. I don't know. These kinds of books just make me feel like I'm laying in my bed on a Saturday, and I'm any age. I could be any age. I'm laying in my bed on a Saturday, the windows are open, and there's like a light... It's not too hot, it's not too humid, there's a light breeze in the air, and maybe later on that day I'm going to the beach or just something. It's funny because my name, Morgan, means born by the sea, and I love the beach. I love everything that reminds me of the beach. I love just like the sounds of the beach and music that sounds like it's at the beach and the waves crashing. Anyways, child, that's what this book makes me think of and makes me feel. So yeah, that's why it's my #1. That's why it's my #1 comfort book. But yeah, these are some books to help you get out of a reading slump, y'all, because, you know, yeah. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Nina High. Nina High is becoming one of my most read... Well, she actually just celebrated her 1-year author anniversary. Yeah, she just celebrated her 1-year author anniversary, and she's written like 7 books. I think the most recent book that she came out with, or maybe it's not, But The Love Lottery was so good. It's my favorite book by her so thus far. It's only my third book by her though, but yeah, it was really good. And her books are really, really short and really, really good, and just give me a little something. Like it just gives me what I need. So she is an author. If I were to suggest a book, I'd say The Love Lottery too. The Love Lottery is an amazing book. Like seriously, it had me cheesing and giggling, and it's the first book that I've read in almost a month. Like the first novel I read in almost a month, and it was just so good. And now I moved on to another book. Tessa Bailey writes some really good short books. They tend to be very spicy. Nina High's books are also very spicy. But yeah, they're short, to the point, very spicy. And I love the way that Tessa Bailey writes her characters. I'm reading a Tessa Bailey book called Mouth to Mouth right now, and it takes place in Long Beach. And I've never read a book about that took place in Long Beach, California before, so that's interesting. But yeah, Tessa Bailey, like, I read a novella from her from Christmas time, and I'm still thinking about it. It was a really, really, really good novella, and I think she specializes in writing, like, shorter stories with, like, really good romantic, spicy banter. I don't know, but Nina High and Tessa Bailey, I don't have any physical books from them because I'm just kind of getting into them. But yeah, definitely two authors you should check out if you're in a slump, and two authors that I'm currently reading and I'm just getting out of a slump. So, but yeah, guys, that's it. That's all I have for y'all. I hope that you, I hope you enjoyed the video. And yeah, what are some books that get you out of a slump? What are some books? Are you gonna read any of these books? Let's talk book slumps. But yeah, bye y'all.